photo by Belinda Fewings on Unsplash. We call it interface design for a reason. The transmission of light through the display, sound through the speakers, haptics through a vibration motor. These are the only methods we have for passing information from the hardware of the machine into the wetware of the human brain. Wearing animal senses, honed through eons of natural selection to survive the natural environment, to bridge digital and biological computers. Simply focusing on visual signals, we have shape, color, line, and motion, change over time, to encode our information. These are the same attributes that art has relied on since the beginning of anything resembling art. There's been gallons of ink, digital and analog, spilled discussing this idea. The tactical point I want to bring home is that the interface designer's toolbox is actually quite limited. We have to apply basic signals like shape and color to produce patterns of similarity and contrast so that our model of information and interaction is accurately recreated in the user's mind. Since we have such a limited set of signals at our disposal, I always recommend compounding them to ensure your message is received. Used on its own, a single underline may be missed, a user may be blind to a swapping of colors. They may see two shapes as very similar. However, the likelihood that they'll miss all three employed together is pretty slim. How about some quick real-world examples? As a skeuomorphic metaphor, UI tabs were initially rendered as a simulation of manila file folder tabs. This visual convention still persists with varying degrees of fidelity. Tabs in Google Chrome. There are two key states to differentiate in tabs: selected versus unselected. It is critical that the selected tab stand out from the crowd. Superscript 1. In the Google Chrome example above, the cues are background color and shape. Figma differentiates tabs by background color, text color, and font weight. If pressed, I would categorize it as a foreground shape, but the taxonomy isn't critical. Tabs in Figma. This may seem elementary when discussing tabs, but I find it absolutely critical because the subtleties are easily missed. Notice how in Figma even the X icon to close the tab is brighter in the selected state. The gestalt effect of all these little signal variations add up to a clear, unmistakable message. The importance of multiple signals becomes apparent to me when designing for a minimalist aesthetic. Here is the tab treatment for Microsoft's Fabric design system. The minimalist tabs, aka pivots, in Microsoft's Fabric design language, the only signals for selected state are a semi-bold font weight and a 2px blue bottom border. If we strip one of these elements out, we see how less clear the interface state becomes at a glance. Fabric tabs with just one visual signal. The compound effect of two subtle differences makes this minimal interaction effective. What if we need to show multiple states at once? Can we compound visual differences and yet have them still feel associated? Here's an example of status icons showing good, at risk, and bad. This sort of visualization is common in workflows for system measuring and monitoring. Status icons employing multiple visual signals. This tiny visual signal has great impact in a sea of other interface components because it relies on multiple layers of consistently meaningful differences. Here we're using color, background shape, and foreground shape. We're also piggybacking on cultural associations. Check means pass, orange means hazard, octagon means stop, etc. The delicate balancing act between similarity and contrast is at play here. Though these icons are employ different colors and shape, it is critical that they are the same size. This helps to associate them with one another. Also, the semantic meaning of the internal icons communicates their shared data category. We can even go a step further by ensuring they're always placed in similar locations within their parent components. For example, Top left corner. What happens if we strip some of these signals away? Status icons relying only on fewer visual signals. This might work, and we certainly see it often enough. But, in making this choice, we're asking our users to pick up the slack. We're asking them to interpret more and more as we strip away the cues. Whenever possible, we should strive for clarity. You can employ consistent visual cues to prime user behavior from one experience to the next. For instance, you can enforce a rule that every interactive element should have a brand color or rounded corners. If it's a primary action, i.e., something you really want the user to engage with, it should probably use both cues. Employing subtle cues in shape as a signal that an element is interactive. This means that every time a user encounters an element with rounded corners, they're cued to know that it's something to interact with. Likewise, every time they see the brand color, they have learned it's an available action. These are subtle visual hints that compound not only in one element, as we've seen previously, but over time spent in the interface. If you're diligently consistent about employing these visual cues, even something as subtle as a difference in corner radii, you'll leave your customers feeling more confident and in control of the experience. Shape, color, line, and change over time are the basic signals to manipulate.